Folks, welcome to the show where it is not wrestling with your budget. It is not wrestling with your conscience. It is wrestling with emotion. And we are on the eve of the biggest wrestling show in history, set to take place in Wembley Stadium tomorrow, AEW All In 2023. We've got our panel in here today. We have Dwayne O'Mania, Dwayne Steinel, and the expert Mike Parthaman. Gentlemen, I hope you're both having a good weekend on the way to All In.
Yeah, I just happy to be home after a long week away for work, and a lot to talk about. A lot to digest. So
yeah, it's as good a weekend as you can have, given everything that's led up to it so far, which has been very bizarre and crazy.
Well said, truthfully. So with that said, let's get right into it. Typically we talk about wrestling storylines, what's going on, and then get into our predictions. There's really only one thing to really talk about before we get into the All In predictions show. And unfortunately, it is the passing of Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, a performer who I know, goes without saying, all of us in here appreciated, all of us in here respected, and all of us were always glad to see on whatever screen we were watching. And so very sad to see. Obviously, I know you guys have had a lot of thoughts, so I'll just kind of kick it off here. Truthfully, it's, the reactions from everyone around the sphere have been pretty relatable. Like, it seems like completely bonkers that, this guy is gone, was always, a figure who kind of came through the screen in more ways than one. So the idea that he's gone just seems incalculable, impossible. And definitely just goes without saying, gonna miss him as a performer, obviously, whether it's the Bray Wyatt character, the Fiend, or, anything he's doing in the ring or outside of it. You guys, what are your thoughts? Sorry there.
I can start, Partham, if you want to kick it off, you can.
It's very reminiscent hearing everybody talk about Bray Wyatt with what we've had gone through in Buffalo just recently, having the passing of RJ, Rick Jenneret, which is everybody to a person, man and woman, said no one had a bad thing to say about him. He was the most kind-hearted soul that you'd ever want to meet. And it's very haunting because you think about what happened maybe a year or two ago with Keith Lee, how he had been away for a while and no one knew what was going on with him in the year before his debut with AEW. And you learned that he had to deal with some post-COVID symptoms. And I believe, I'm not sure exactly when or by how close he got, but he said he came close to passing away himself. So this really hits home as to, just how badly things can get when you have to deal with post-COVID syndromes and maybe you have heart problems in the first place. I think that's what Sean Ross Sapp mentioned Bray Wyatt had before, and this only exacerbated it. Think about how close we were losing to Triple H, for crying out loud. So we've had a couple of close calls, I guess, in the last couple of years. And I guess not everybody, gets that lucky. What else? We've known that Bray was out having medical problems for a while, but no one would say what exactly. And the rumors were that he was about to come back, as we were just touching on before the show. There was a rumor I'd heard that Cody was going to be one of his return opponents if he had gotten back to the ring. And that really, that would have been great for Bray. It would have been great for Cody. To have listened to those promos is something that now we'll never get again. The tribute last night, I think was very well done. They not only touched on Bray Wyatt, but they touched on Terry Funk as well, with Cody giving that promo. And I thought LA Knight's promo touching on Bray Wyatt and what he did for his career with their match earlier in the year, even though, bizarrely enough, it was Bray Wyatt's only match, I believe, on television or on any streaming event since he returned. And it was kind of derided because it was a sponsored event, Mountain Dew Blackout, with all these neon lights going on and whatnot. But I think LA Knight did a very good job of weaving all of that, the things that he and Bray Wyatt went through into his promo, weaving it into his promo with The Miz then. And then, of course, tagging it with the little, next time you see me, run. Yep. Which is a nice little tribute to him. And the way they ended the show with the lantern and fading out on that, and all these videos throughout the night about, the great moments of Bray Wyatt's career. One thing that you didn't notice, but they did do it on social media more so than on the show, was all these videos of people talking into a camera and giving their thoughts on Bray Wyatt. They had done that before with the Eddie Guerrero tribute shows and Owen Hart and even Chris Benoit before they knew what was going on there. This time they didn't do that so much, maybe because of TV time or maybe because they felt it was a little too exploitive. But I think that was the classy thing to do. But overall, it was a great show last night and a great tribute to both Wyndham Rotunda and Terry Funk.
The tribute I thought was well done very much last night. And I just want to jump in on a point you made because it is so prevalent to me when you say it. You know, we hear about these guys, and again, not everyone is fair. Every case is different. You know, health, and, you know, I'm not the first one to say it. You never take it for granted because, you know, so often when you hear, you know, oh, so-and-so is trying to get back in the ring. I mean, you don't associate that with like, oh, they're having like life health problems. You associate it with, oh, they're trying to get back to, you know, perform at the highest level of a WWE superstar. And so, I mean, that just really like was like really one of the jarring things to me, especially in just the reaction and the fallout to it. But Dwayne, I know you had some thoughts as well.
Yeah. You know, piggybacking off some of the things that Partham said and you as well, like, there are, you know, he mentioned about how we lost Rick Jeanneret, better known as RJ here in Buffalo, Terry Funk, and of course, you know, an entertainer, a wrestler, an athlete that we've gotten to know better because he was part of our generation. Bray Wyatt, you know, Wyndham Rotunda. For me, what's so difficult to deal with is I always appreciate somebody who takes pride in their work. That isn't just about the money. And I think that's why that's why I'm such a fickle sports fan, is because sometimes for me it's not always about winning and losing. I want to win, but it's sometimes about the way you win and the way you lose. And did you believe everything out there when you did it? That matters to me as a fan. And Bray Wyatt, Wyndham, he was a guy who cared so much about his craft, was passionate about it, and like he had more creativity in his pinky than any of us have in our entire body. And I don't think anybody would feel offended when I say that. He's proven it over time and time again. And maybe that's why some people had not issues, but trouble working with him, is because they never met his level of creativity. They never met his level of passion, never met his level of commitment to a character, to the trade, to the match, and everything else that surrounded it. We saw it with John Cena, even, you know, with LA Knight, just everything that went into it that made the match, when it almost like the match itself became kind of an afterthought because of everything that went into it, and everything, every little line, every little nuance. He cared so much, not just about what he was doing, but what we thought of it, doing what he could for us as fans. And that's what is so hard to swallow with this, is just like, you're not going to see another guy like him, a guy who is willing. And he said it himself in that post press conference, like, why are you here unless you're willing to push limits and try different things that nobody's ever tried before? And we talk about Bray, we talk about Terry Funk, we talk about Rick Jeanneret. All three of them were trailblazers in their own trade. Rick Jeanneret, find me another sports announcer, not a hockey announcer, sports announcer, that put as much passion and effort into every little nuance of every single game he called. You can't. And Doc Emmerich even said it himself. He was possibly the best. And that says a lot coming from him.
Yeah, what I would say, just jumping in on that point, I mean, all three of those guys that you just mentioned, people within their profession even think they're like a little, like, you know, give them a side eye. You know, like they definitely do things outside the box. They definitely do things differently.
They would get they would get criticized because they're such, you know, they're against the norm. They don't go with the grain of the way everybody else is comfortable with. Like Terry Funk, like a lot of those guys that came out of ECW itself may have never gotten as much steam or even exist without a guy like Terry Funk, who is willing to push those limits to put on a show. Rick Jeanneret, you know, same thing. We just said it. Like, look, I mean, I was down at Alumni Plaza today after hockey, just looking at that monument and all the notes that people wrote and stuck to it. Just like the everlasting effect, different goal calls. Like, nobody put as much effort into that particular trade than Rick Janneret and cared as much. And now you lose a guy like Bray Wyatt who gave us the Fiend. And like when I look at a wrestler, I look at a guy who never lets something get stale. That's why I've always loved Chris Jericho. Like he never let something get stale. He was always innovating. Bray Wyatt's always innovating. Whether it was, Husky, whether it was the Wyatt family, Eater of Worlds, there's so many different ways you can identify Bray Wyatt. It's just like he cared so much about us, the fans. And that's why it's going to be difficult to find anybody who's going to meet the mold that he created for himself. And that's why this hurts as much as it does, is because he cared so much. And then watching LA Knight, and this is why this guy is going to be a superstar too. I watched that whole thing. He was able to tie in his current storyline, tie in the shots he would take at The Miz, and tie in his past with Bray, and also pay tribute to a guy all in one promo. And you could tell there was a lot of thought, a lot of passion, and he cared about the way he delivered that message. That's why I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. He already is. And then you see how they opened it up with the rocking chair, ended it with the lantern. There's so many different things you could that are layered into his character, his everlasting effect into what is professional wrestling. And I have to imagine, man, Raw, the premier show, the premier show of WWE isn't going to not do something too. I imagine they open up almost the same way, give those performers who couldn't be there on SmackDown the same opportunity. I'd imagine we'd see Bo Dallas, who, was rumored, I think all about confirmed, to be Uncle Howdy. Like, will he continue the character? I think this is a great opportunity too. And not to tie in storylines, this is a great opportunity to actually find a tag team to take the belts away from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman. Not saying get the Wyatt family back together, but find me a tag team that people are going to get behind more than them two right now than anything. It makes sense to me. And it's a sad day, man. It's been hard to process. And I look at a lot of the tweets and a lot of the message. This was a guy who never, ever, if you were in need, if you were somebody who was in a dark place and you've seen it all over Twitter or X or wherever the hell you want to call it, he answered all DMs, and they weren't just one-word DMs. They weren't one-word answers. He cared. He legitimately cared about the people that were struggling. And, everybody saw that video. He came back out and saw a kid and spent a little time with him after he already walked in. And I know those are little things that people might not take too seriously, but that's who he was, man. And that locker room is a lot emptier now without his personality and his character and his leadership in it.
You're right, though. The little things add up to things like that make Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda larger than life. So obviously our thoughts, prayers are with his family and loved ones, obviously, in this very difficult time. Goes without saying. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
A couple things I want to touch on before we wrap up on that. I remember watching the Rise and Fall of ECW and Paul Heyman talking about Terry Funk and mentioning how everybody always likes to worry about their spot, worry about how they're going to be pushed. And all Terry ever thought was, I can make him. I can give the rub to him. All Terry ever did was just give back to the business in every way that he could. And as far as Bray Wyatt, so committed to his character, I saw this tidbit on Twitter where he showed up to jury duty, but he did it in character as Swamp Cult leader Bray Wyatt. He was so committed. And you don't hardly ever see that in wrestling anymore these days.
Jericho used to talk about him doing that too. Like he told a story in his one book, No is a 4-letter word. He said that he was on an elevator one time with a kid, and the kid wanted an autograph real bad, and he kept his face straight forward and refused to break kayfabe because he was a heel. He's like, I can't give this kid an autograph. And his dad was there with him too. So how awkward does that have to be for him? Not breaking, but that's his commitment to the character. He's not trying to be an asshole. He's putting that much passion into his trade, and I respect the hell out of that, man. And again, that's why it's a tough pill to swallow when you lose a guy like Wyndham Rotunda, not just the performer but the human being.
Seriously, well said, both of you. And obviously, you know, his dedication, like you said, to wrestling would have been something that he would have enjoyed, obviously, this weekend with All In 2023. There's no way to really segue it, but obviously, this weekend we have the biggest show in wrestling history taking place. All In AEW. You know, it's AEW is interesting because obviously it has the other property links and things like that, so they can kind of borrow from New Japan, ROH, things like that. But yeah, it's a lot to look forward to and a lot to be excited about for this weekend happening in Wembley Stadium tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern time. So let's get the background shipped here.
I don't know if you guys just saw in the chat, but Chris Jericho did just attack Will Ospreay at an event today.
Oh, geez. Not being attacked at an event. Well, hey, it sounds like things are getting underway early. So we have myself, Dwayne Omania, and Partham with picks. We also have picks submitted already from Micah and Mo as well, Micah's bro. So let's get into the picks here and let's get into the matches. Sounds like Jericho and Ospreay are getting things started early, but getting things started early tomorrow, it'll be the Aussie Open versus MJF and Adam Cole in a tag team match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Now, this is funny because obviously on paper, you would think MJF and Adam Cole, quote unquote, should win this match, but it could, kind of foray into the other storyline. So, Partham, why don't you start us off, Dwayne? Then you can go, what do you got happening in this pre-show match?
If MJF and Adam Cole didn't win the AEW Tag Team Championships, I don't see them winning the ROH championships. As much as Adam Cole laid out as how that's the one title in Ring of Honor that he never won, is the tag team titles. I mean, I get that MJF is supposed to have turned over a new leaf as a character, but for him to give a damn about the ROH tag team titles, even for his new bestie friend, Adam Cole, I don't know if MJF is, still the devil himself, and he's just, playing a trick on us all over again, or if this is just something that's going to exacerbate any real life tension or any kayfabe tension, between them. Essentially, I'm expecting the Kingdom with Roderick Strong to come in here and cost them the match, specifically interfering with Adam Cole, and for Aussie Open to retain here, because I'm expecting something to go down in the main event, and we'll get to that, of course, at the end. But I don't see, as much as people say, you got to let this, you got to ride this with the bro segments that they've been having and how popular they've been. I figure if they weren't as popular, they would have already split them when they failed to win the AEW tag team titles. And this is sort of a redo of that, where not winning the tag team titles causes a little dissension, some cracks in the armor, and then I would expect MJF to turn on him, but not right here, not until the main event, and we'll get to that, of course. But Aussie Open should be nice.
Yeah. For me personally, just to tie into the current storyline, the outside storyline of who will turn on who, when will MJF, I personally think that it'll be Adam Cole that turns on MJF eventually. It all starts here, tomorrow night, with them losing to losing the Aussie Open. I think that it's kind of reminiscent almost of Damian Priest and Finn Balor, but in the sense that MJF will try to do the right thing, and it'll almost seem like he costs them the match or will cost them the match, and Adam Cole will eventually be on the line and want to turn and break the friendship. But yeah, I have them losing. I have Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher winning.
I have Aussie Open winning, screwy ending, just like you guys said. I actually think MJF kangaroo kicks Adam Cole to start the show and kind of unleash that. So that'll get everyone going. But yes, I think we all have Aussie Open retaining. The Micah Bros both have Aussie Open retaining. So we're clean sweep on that one. Next matchup, it's not retired yet, folks. The FTW champion, Jack Perry, against Hook in Wembley Stadium. I'll kick this one off. Hook is great. Love him. Jack Perry just has too much momentum right now with that belt. I'm going to go with Jack Perry. Dwayne Mania, what do you got?
I'm a big fan of Hook. I would love to see him succeed and win a championship. But I'm with you with Maniac. I'm going to go Jack Perry.
Huh. Well, this is kind of a spoiler for Collision tonight, at least for me. I'm not saying anything, but I had heard that the FTW title was originally going to be retired on Dynamite, but I guess
they ran out of time, right?
Collision, right. So I guess going into tonight, what we're going to see is Jack Perry attempts to retire the FTW title, and then Hook comes out and basically just chases him off or challenges him to a match at the pre-show at All In. I want my FTW title back. If Jack Perry's intention is to retire the FTW title and he retains it, then who's to stop him from actually retiring it? Which I don't think you do that. I don't think you retire the FTW title with Jack Perry. You have to retire. If anybody's going to retire it, it's going to be Hook. It's going to be the son of the person who started the title in the first place. So logically speaking, that's why I don't see Jack Perry winning this. I think Hook wins it back.
Okay, so we got to sweep. No, you got Hook, and then we have Jake on Hook, and we have Mo on Jack Perry. So we're pretty split on that. We got 3-2 split, and we'll have some other picks obviously pouring in. Make sure to check Trainer Sports as Slick, Ernie Green, and more submit their picks for All In 2023 tomorrow. Next up, this is going to be a pretty classic match. FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. This is also a best of 3. So obviously this is kind of like even more crazy than the biggest tag teams fighting and the biggest show of all time. With that said, Partham, why don't you kick us off? We'll go Partham, Dwayne, me. Who do you got? FTR, Young Bucks.
Obviously, the X factor here is Cash Wheeler and his legal troubles, whatever those may be. Fortunately, they haven't prevented him from going to England and participating in the match. Like you said, it's basically the rubber match, and we've been anticipating this since last year's FTR Young Bucks match. I see the Young Bucks winning. Even if there wasn't anything going on with Cash Wheeler or FTR or whatever, I think ultimately the Young Bucks are AEW originals. They're AEW founders. I think they deserve this big moment, this big triumphant, rubber match moment in the stadium show and the biggest event in AEW history thus far. I think the fact that we don't know what might go on with Cash Wheeler is only going to make it more urgent that maybe FTR should. It's not fair to Dax Harwood, but I think it's probably best if the tag titles were off of them, and who better to take them off them than the Young Bucks.
I agree 100%, Partham. I think that the Young Bucks, along with Cody, who obviously is no longer with the promotion, and Kenny and Jericho, they've built something really special with AEW, and this is like their WrestleMania, their big opportunity to prove the doubters wrong once again. For the first time it was a double or nothing in Chicago. They said they couldn't sell out an arena, an indie show couldn't sell out an arena, and they did, and now they've done it again, and this time at Wembley. So I think they're going to get their moment in the sun on their version of the grandest stage of it all, and they're gonna shine, the Young Bucks for sure. And to your point about the legal troubles of Cash Wheeler and the issues he's facing, I feel like he was lucky enough to even be there tomorrow night. So not saying it as punishment, but there's probably going to be some uncertainty down the line of what's going to happen with him. So I think it's probably best just to take the belts off them.
Maniac, we got you muted. I mute monstered myself.
There you are.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think the legal stuff might. I mean, as far as actually playing into the decision making, I think it's kind of a non-factor. I do agree it came up at terrible timing for sure, and it's something that someone shouldn't do for sure. I mean, I think it was a road rage incident where he flashed a gun, basically.
Yeah.
Certainly shouldn't do that. Sorry, I don't care what your opinions are. But with that said, yeah, I think that this is going to be an epic match. Obviously, it goes without saying. I said, what do you think the over/under for time on this match is? 30 to 32 minutes.
How many matches are on the card?
11 with the pre-show.
I don't see it going over 30 minutes, man. With that many matches, I put it in the 20 to 25 minute range.
Okay. Do you think obviously they're over in the UK, and the UK gets started around this whole event gets started in the UK around 7 or 8, but for us, we can stay with it as long as we want because it's going to start at 1 Eastern Standard Time. So do you think they might push the time limits a little bit, figuring maybe
but I don't know. You want to keep people.
So it's 5 hours later in the UK. So this is like a pay-per-view starting at 6 o'clock. So
Hmm.
11 matches at 6 o'clock isn't really that crazy.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
I'm just saying. Let's face it. I mean, I don't mean to call you out, Dwayne. If you've seen a FTR Young Bucks match, 20 to 25 minutes is like the floor. Like I could not imagine it possibly being shorter than that.
I mean, okay. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just saying, like, for an attention span standpoint, I don't know, man. I just, with that many matches, I maybe I'll push it 25 to 30. I guess. I don't know. I'm
predicting. That's why I want to lock it. I'm locking in 36 minutes on this match right here. 36 minutes. You guys had it right though. Young Bucks get the win ultimately, and they win their titles at their version of WrestleMania for sure. But yeah, that's basically my prediction for the match. Is that it's going to be a colossally long match with many false falls, all kinds of crazy stuff, callbacks, and much more, as the Young Bucks are known to do. Speaking of performers getting it done and known to do, we got Hikaru Shida, the new champion, versus Toni Storm, Saraya, and Britt Baker, DMD. With that said, in a 4-way match for the AEW Women's World Champion. I'll be honest, guys. I'll just kick this off, and it's not really a expert take. If they take the title off Shida this quickly, I don't know where they could go from here. So I'm picking Shida in this match, even though I expect Britt Baker to shine as always. Dwayne, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with Shida as well. Again, as I mentioned to you guys beforehand, I haven't been really available to watch any of the playback on AEW over the last month, but I did know that she did recently, obviously, win the belt. So much like, we had the conversations about Seth Rollins dropping the belt early as he did, and there's some arguments there. I have the same sentiment towards this. It wouldn't make much sense to take it off that quickly.
All right, Maniac, before I give my pick, can you touch on what the other guys' picks are? Because I want to see what the feeling is.
They're both on Shida.
All right, my initial pick is Shida, and I feel like I'm going to stay with it, but hear me out here.
Okay.
The original plan, I'm going to feel the original plan, was Jamie Hayter versus Saraya. Maybe there might have been, a 4-woman match here anyway with Britt Baker and Toni Storm thrown in for good measure to get more people on the show, because Tony Khan likes to do that. But before she was injured, Hikaru Shida was on her way to defending this title in this event in the UK. And Saraya, even if it wouldn't have been one-on-one, Saraya should have been involved somehow. Toni Storm ultimately won the title from Jamie Hayter because it's a heel winning it from a face. And then Hikaru Shida recently beat Toni Storm because it's a face beating a heel. Now, Toni Storm is the original champion after Jamie Hayter, but you couldn't necessarily do Saraya winning the belt from Toni Storm because they're on the same team. They're both heels, unless you were going to do some cracks in the foundation for the Outcasts, which they haven't really shown any kind of signs of that before, not like the Judgment Day and the Bloodline and everybody else. They seem to be together and united, and there doesn't seem to be any jealousy about who might have the women's title at the time. So is it possible Hikaru Shida could be a transitional champion in order for Saraya to win it off a babyface instead of one of her own?
No, you're overthinking it.
Okay, all right. So
I mean, you're definitely like you're agreeing with all the laws of wrestling, like execution for sure. But I just feel like it's just too quick for Hikaru Shida to lose it and to turn around quick. Yeah. But you're right. Like if they,
it's not like AEW is afraid of doing transitional champions. You think of the Gun Club, or I think even the Young Bucks at one point last year were a short-lived tag team champions, if I recall. So It's not impossible for them to. I mean, they gave Hikaru Shida the title because she was a champion during the COVID era, and now she can at least say she was a champion with fans involved. But is she a long-term champion for the storyline that they've gotten going on with the Outcasts and the rest of the women's locker room?
Doesn't seem like it.
I'll just play it safe and go with the rest of you guys and say Hikaru Shida likely should retain. But I mean, if Saraya pulls an upset in front of her hometown crowd, the only thing I'll say about Saraya is the only doubt I have about that happening is, yes, she's cleared to come back to the ring, and we're glad to see her back. But is she healthy enough? Is she fit enough? Is she capable enough to carry the women's division as the main champion? Being that kind of workhorse and defending that title on so many occasions. I don't know if she's at a point where she can do that if she's fully capable of having great one-on-one matches for the title, then maybe they can put the belt on her. But that's the only thing that holds me back from saying that Saraya should pull the upset.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and the overcomplication of what I'm trying to think of here, what the original plan was. But let's just say Hikaru Shida retains.
All right. Well, hey, time will tell with Hikaru Shida. Time will tell as well with this feud. Well, I guess it's kind of coming to a head here at All In. Darby Allin and Sting versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage, the father hater himself, with Prince Nana and Luchasaurus. Part the money, kick us off, and then we'll go Dwayne and myself.
Can I just say that the Christian Cage promo was unbelievable, and it's almost a self-parody at this point, because when Nick Wayne, when that whole story about his father, they had the vignette about his father and his upbringing and everything. Immediately on social media, the memes came out, Christian Cage hears about somebody as a dead dad, and you have the meme of someone rubbing their hands together, or it's just a picture of Christian, with a shit-eating grin on his face. And then here it comes to fruition because AR Fox had visa issues or whatever, but I think it's all for the best. Even though Nick Wayne isn't directly involved in this match, it was definitely a great way for Christian to get that promo on him that we all wanted to hear. But I mean, when Christian starts that promo, he almost starts it like a job interview. Okay, Nick Wayne, I see here that you had a father, and I see that your father is also dead. Well, yeah. I guess I can work with this.
You're right. He really has become a parody of himself with the father comments, for sure.
But he's such a savage with them that we don't care. It's just, oh God, Christian's a menace to society. But anyway, Darby Allin and Sting are henceforth undefeated as a tag team. So I don't see them losing to Swerve and Christian on this stage, especially. I think they want to give Sting that big win in that big stadium. But this is going to lead into, of course, Darby Allin versus not Christian, of course. Jesus, Christian's even gaslighting me into thinking that. It's going to lead into Darby versus Luchasaurus at All Out for the TNT title. In order for him to have momentum, I think Darby Allin has to get the win in this match. Maybe not the pinfall, or at least maybe the pinfall for the momentum. They could have Sting get the pinfall over Swerve for sentimentality, I guess. But I would think Darby has to get the pinfall for some sort of momentum going into that TNT title match. So I'm taking Darby Allin Sting.
I'm gonna go. Personally, I love I love everything Christian Cage is doing now, and maybe I'm just being like I don't know, like the lack of a better term, a kid wrestling fan who just wants their favorite guy to win. But I'm gonna go with Swerve and Christian Cage for sure. Mm-hmm. I everything Christian has done with this storyline has been awesome.
I agree. More so because of how I see the rest of the card falling out. Partham, you did mention also Darby and Sting are undefeated as a tag team, so I'm expecting on a huge stage. AEW is not going to change that. And obviously, kind of playing in like the Dom Mysterio factor. Let's face it, people want to see Christian lose at this point after all the buildup. So I'm going with Darby Allin and Sting. On the card, we're about halfway through All In 2023.
What's the other guys' picks?
Oh, sorry, real quick. We got Jake Micah has Sting and Darby, and Mo has Christian and Swerve. So the brothers are split on that one. Next up, we got the Golden Elite, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page versus Konosuke Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson, and Jay White. I'll kick it off here. This seems like another match where the good guys got to win. It seems like the bad guys have been getting the best of them for most of it to me. The only moments that anyone has had comeuppance has been when Kota Ibushi actually gets to the ring. So I'm going to go with the Golden Elite in this one. Dwayne, what do you got?
A tough one. But there's just a lot of talent on the side of the Golden Elite. Kenny Omega, Ibushi, Hangman Page. I'm going to have to agree with you there on Maniac. I'm going to go with the Golden Elite.
What's everybody else got going on Maniac? Because this is the other.
You're just trying to gain picks on people. That's all you're doing. Don't tell me.
Wait. When do I have to gain picks on anybody around here? Okay.
Listen, dude. Listen, I'm guessing fucking blind right now. You don't get advantages right now.
You could ask Maniac. You can ask Maniac.
Don't tell me Maniac. It's bullshit.
Okay,
No, you're just
okay.
trying to gain picks. If
This
I'm
was the
gonna
only
pick
other-
I'll tell
blind,
you what. Here,
essentially,
I'll tell you what. I'm not gonna tell you what their picks are, but the brothers are split on this one again.
Okay, fair enough. This was the only other one that I was just mulling over because I could see it going both ways. I could see the good guys getting the win because they're all just solid performers and they all have to be protected in one way or another. Although, I mean, Kota Ibushi, he's like the wild card in the Golden Elite. I could see Ibushi taking the pin. I could see him taking the loss here. I don't think it would do any damage to him as far as his AEW cred goes because he's not an AEW regular, at least not yet.
Not a pillar.
But I mean, when you start a feud, and then this is the reason I'm gonna pick somebody else in probably the next match you're about to touch on. When you start a big feud between different factions, usually you start with the bad guys winning. They have to get momentum. There's no reason for the good guys to win because that pretty much ends the feud there. And my thought is this is going to lead to the rumored Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita match at All Out. And I would think Kenny has to get the win over Takeshita. I don't think they're ready to have Takeshita and Don Callis get one up on Kenny Omega 1-on-1. So my thought is Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold have to win this. And then Kenny gets his revenge on Konosuke and by extension got Don Callis at All Out. So I'm actually taking the Bullet Club Gold and Takeshita. Yeah, I went against everybody else. So what do you know?
Okay. I'm with it. I'm with it. All right. These matches are always fun in more ways than one. Oh, we have, we'll get to a question we just got from Gatesy in a second, but we got Stadium Stampede, Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, and Pennant El Zero Miedo versus Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta, Santana, and Ortiz. Wow, I feel like I was just the AEW guy there.
for my names.
With that said, I will just go. I mean, Eddie Kingston's got to win this. Too much momentum. Blackpool Combat Club, Santana Ortiz, they can all take a loss. Eddie Kingston needs this win. I'm choosing that side. Partham, what do you got? And then we'll go Dwayne.
Oh, I go with the opposite. I think Blackpool Combat Club having Santana Ortiz coming back, they have all the momentum. They can't afford to. Blackpool Combat Club just lost their last big feud with the Elite. They're coming off of that, and they just have Santana Ortiz joining in, and now Eddie Kingston is like, "What's the hell's going on?" He's all pissed off, and he wants to beat somebody up, but he's not going to be able to beat them up right away. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I think for Blackpool Combat Club's cred and for Santana Ortiz's momentum, this storyline is far from over. We're going to see like a Mox Eddie Kingston match at some point in the future. I don't know if it's going to be All Out. I don't know if Eddie Kingston is going to first deal with Santana Ortiz and try to, address his issues with them. But I think Blackpool and Santana Ortiz are going to take this one.
I'm actually going to agree with Partham. I'm going to go with the Blackpool Combat Club. I don't believe, again, my access to watching everything on playback like I normally do has been limited, but I have caught some of this feud, and I could definitely see this going towards another pay-per-view. It's not going to end tomorrow night, and I think first time will be I can't say it. Blackpool Combat Club taking the win tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, hey, speaking of feuds, I don't know if this feud has anywhere to go after this event because this seems like a one-off. We have Will Ospreay, who just got attacked by Chris Jericho, that stupid idiot in England lately, against the Demigod, the Ocho, the GOAT, Chris Jericho. Ospreay has to win this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump into my picks first again and again. I know they just switched. He technically has Don Callis, so he's technically the heel in this. So it's a little bit of a sketchiness as far as that's put together. But I feel like Will Ospreay just needs this win. The promo on Dynamite was great. They both put it together in a matter of a week. So kudos to them for making us care about this match that only got put together basically 1 or 2 weeks ago. But I got Will Ospreay victorious in this match. The Micah Bros have Ospreay. They are both on Ospreay. Dwayne, who do you got? And then we'll go to Partham.
I think Chris Jericho is there just to really put guys over at this point. So I agree. Will Ospreay is going to take the win. what does this do to Jericho? Like, it does nothing if he takes a pin here. Like, it is what it is. He's there to put him over, and that's what we're going to see tomorrow night.
Yeah, you said it, Dwayne. Chris Jericho is basically their resident Terry Funk. He's there to make guys, and especially in his home country, Will Ospreay, I think. And with possibly down the road, Will Ospreay joining AEW in the future when his contract with New Japan is up. I think he needs a little AEW momentum for this. So definitely, I think Will Ospreay, and especially like I said before, and the reason I just picked Blackpool Combat Club, when you're just starting a feud and it's going to be a long-term feud, the bad guys usually win first. So Will Ospreay with Don Callis going against Chris Jericho, they should win.
Well, as far as some people are concerned, this next matchup features the real championship. We got CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. CM Punk, the real world champion, I guess is his title. Okay. Kind of going through a Hulk Hogan phase, CM Punk is, so it's very interesting to see.
And
again, well, no, he's good, but he's also doing it to troll the commenters who like say that he like does stuff that Hogan used to do, right? Like, so it's all in one. So with that said, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, this match and the way that this has happened multiple times already early in Collision's history, I feel like this is more of a testimony and a tribute to like what they did for the last 10 years and what they did, Ring of Honor, yada, yada, in the past. I think there's 0% chance that CM Punk loses this match. So with that said, CM Punk wins. Partham, who do you got?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much going to be unanimous, not just among us, but among everybody, that Punk's going to win this. I mean, we're talking about going back to Ring of Honor. They went to time limit draws their first two matches. Joe got over on the third match. We recently had a fourth match where Punk got a roll up, and this is essentially another rubber match. And with Punk's momentum and him being the face of Collision, I think he's got to win this one. Who knows if there's going to be a unification match within a week or a couple of months with MJF. MJF really hasn't even addressed it yet, which is really curious. But of course, he's got his own big storyline to focus on for now. But yeah, there's going to be a Punk MJF match, and that sort of gives away my pick right now. But coming down the line, and Punk's got to win this for the time being. And it's going to be, talking about matches going 30 minutes, this is going to be at least 30 minutes, if not, surpassing it, because that's just what Punk and Joe do. They go long and they tell a story within their match.
Definitely. I mean, with both of them having the belts, it doesn't make much sense. There's going to be a unification match at some point. And CM Punk versus MJF is an absolute blockbuster, in my opinion, on whatever pay-per-view they decide to do it on. It's an absolute blockbuster. So I agree. It's going to be CM Punk. As much as I'd like to see Samoa Joe win, it'd be great. He deserves it. But CM Punk is going to win.
Okay. Clean sweep on CM Punk. The bros have CM Punk. We all have CM Punk. 2 matches left. House of Black. Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King with Julia Hart against the Acclaimed for the AEW Trios Championships and Badass Billy Gunn. Did anybody think during that promo that he was going to say it was the return of Mr. Ass? I'm not going to lie. I thought maybe like the WWE trademark had run out or something, so they're finally able to use it, but I guess they're going with the Badass Billy Gunn character. I don't think he was really that much like a character. He was just a member of the New Age Outlaws, right?
Well, I mean, he can refer to himself as Badass Billy Gunn, right? As long as they're not selling T-shirts that says it.
Yeah,
right?
No, they can do that for sure, and they can use the title for sure. But I'm saying, like, I don't even remember.
Are we sure that's true? Because they wouldn't let Cody Rhodes call himself Cody Rhodes for a long time.
Yeah, but that's because
eventually
the name Cody Rhodes is trademarked.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what is that isn't trademarked. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, hey, we don't get into that business stuff here on Wrestling with Emotion. We just get into the wrestling.
Yeah, so leave that for WrestleNomics.
Partham. Oh, let's start off. What do we got? House of Black is picked by both the Micah Bros. Partham, what do you got?
I mean, House of Black would be the safe pick. The thing is, they've already beaten the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, not once, but twice. And the second time was what led to Billy Gunn's, on-screen retirement, supposedly. House of Black have had a good run with the titles. I don't know what happened to those House of Black rules where, the opposing team gets to pick one stipulation, that sort of disappeared into the ether or whatever. Which it was nice for the time being, but I guess now they're just doing straight up trios titles matches. I think the sentimentality for Billy Gunn winning a championship with the Acclaimed, especially since everybody's saying how the Acclaimed have lost momentum since they lost the AEW tag team titles. And this is a great way for them to get back that momentum, having some sort of tag team championship of a kind. And with Billy Gunn coming back and that great promo of his and saying Badass Billy Gunn is back, how can you have as good as the House of Black are? How can you have them beat the Acclaim not once, but not twice, but 3 times for the trios titles? So honestly, I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the Acclaimed over the House of Black.
I'm going to go against the grain here and go with Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. Honestly, I don't know a ton about this storyline. But I do know that House of Black have taken a couple wins already. So I'd like to see Billy Gunn, especially after, I've watched it on replay, his on-screen retirement, see them get a big win here and, take the trios belts.
I think that House of Black can't lose here. I do love the Acclaimed. I don't know how they're going to do it because they got Badass Billy Gunn returning. They got the Acclaimed in a third time's the charm. I just can't see House of Black losing. I just feel like they're not stale yet. So maybe it's a face pop for the crowd with the Acclaimed winning or Badass Billy Gunn doing. I don't know, but I just can't pick against House of Black. So I'm going House of Black. Part them on an island with the Acclaimed.
Oh, me and Dwayne.
Oh, you and Dwayne. Okay. All right. Fair. Well, hey, main event time. MJF, your champion, holder of the Triple B, against Adam Cole, his best friend, the man who taught him to be open, the man who taught him that, he didn't have to, have distrust and live his life in distrust. It's like tough because Adam Cole's good enough to win it and he deserves it in this spot, but the MJF story just isn't done. This is the second act of the devil, and he's doing exactly what he said. He's convincing everyone that he doesn't exist. He's convincing everyone that he's a wholesome good guy. I still do like the idea that Adam Cole is going to be the one to turn on him somehow, because maybe that even makes him a worse person or sends him into a dash of that. But I just feel like MJF, especially with the CM Punk storyline still being undone, like you said, Bartham, I just can't see him losing this belt. So I got MJF winning. Dwayne, what do you got?
Yeah, I have MJF. Much like the CM Punk Samoa Joe match, it just makes too much sense. And you don't want to take away the opportunity to have an MJF versus CM Punk match. I mean, the microphone work alone would be incredible. And I think what happens earlier in the night will dictate who turns on who in this match. And I think it'll be Adam Cole. So.
Like I said, like I alluded to earlier, I see MJF winning this match because last year we were robbed for multiple reasons of the MJF CM Punk title rematch between them, and with Punk carrying around a title belt of his own, it makes too much sense for them to revisit MJF and CM Punk to unify the titles. CM Punk's been calling out MJF, saying he's got his title on shopaew.com or whatever, even though MJF hasn't really responded. You'd have to imagine that eventually they will. There's going to be a CM Punk Adam Cole match in the future, but it's not going to be for unification of the title. It's not the time to tell that story between them. Yeah. And as far as the idea, some people are suggesting that Adam Cole would turn on MJF. I mean, you could do that for a Vince Russo shock, as far as I'm concerned. They're hinting at it with, Adam Cole hugging MJF and giving the little, stab you in the back maneuver. I think they're smart enough to know to put that in there and put that in your mind and think, wait, could it go the other way instead? I think they're working the marks a little bit. By marks, I mean us, by throwing in the little hints like Adam Cole getting defensive about, the implication that either he or MJF might turn on one or each other. And MJF in that promo sit down with Renee, but they both had sit downs with Renee on Dynamite, where MJF is very introspective about his supposed turn of character, and Cole got a little more defensive when the implication came up that there might be turncoat in this match as far as one guy betraying the other. I see the ending as not being overbooked, but having a lot of elements to it. Like, it's not going to just be MJF takes out the diamond ring and knocks Adam Cole while the ref is down. Adam Cole's probably going to catch him doing that and like, dude, no, you can't do that. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. Here, ref, here you go. And then he takes out the brass knucks and hits Adam Cole with it. There's going to be a fake out where we think MJF is about to turn Adam Cole, and then he doesn't, and then he does. I feel like that's what's going to happen, where they show us what we expect to happen, and then they pull it back, and then they do it anyway. So I have MJF not just winning this match, but basically by hook or crook cheating to win, and therefore ending the bro relationship with Adam Cole. I mean, I don't think they want to overdo this. I think they don't want to stretch it out too long where it jumps the shark or whatever. They stretched it out a little bit longer than they probably expected it to, but I think this is a logical place to end it.
Seriously, speaking of a logical place to end it, with that said, I think we're all done here on Wrestling with Emotion. Any final words, boys?
No, excited for tomorrow night, and it'll be a good way to distract wrestling fans from what's happened in the past 7 days. And I think any wrestler or wrestling fan would agree that the best way to do that is to watch a great match or pay-per-view or program, much like what AEW All In at Wembley Stadium will be.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if one or two wrestling moves in this match or gestures are going to, be a shout out to either Terry Funk or Wyndham Rotunda. And it's going to be like the Brawling Brutes always say. It's like every AEW pay-per-view. It's banger after banger after banger.
Seriously, should be a great show. AEW doesn't rarely disappoint, so we'll stay tuned tomorrow. 1 p.m. Eastern time for All In. We'll see if our predictions are right, because it's the show. And make sure you're following at Michael Partham, at Dwayne S39 on Twitter for all of their takes and all of their thoughts on the wrestling world, as well as at Trainwreck Sports for all our Wrestling with Emotion content. Because it's the show where it's not wrestling with your budget. It's not wrestling with your conscience. It is wrestling with emotion.